Hey, welcome back. To be honest, I'm not really sure what I'll be doing in this video. I've got a list that I made up of some things that I need to start figuring out for the project back on that whiteboard there. But I don't have any specific order to tackle things in mind right now. A lot of it is stuff that I've just got to look around online and try to see what's available. I know that there are things that I want to change on this, and there are some things that I'm not sure if I want to change. Like the gas tank on this thing is 3/4 of a gallon, and I would like to have a lot more of a range than 3/4 of a gallon is going to provide, so I don't know what exactly I'll do for a gas tank. Things like, I'm not sure that I want these panels down here, the little body panels, but I've got to take them off and see what things look like when they're not on there to see how bad it is. No idea if I want the rear rack. This seat just basically pops up and down for no reason and kind of swivels around. Not a big fan of that. Don't know if that's something I'll end up changing or what. Taillights, brake lights, turn signal. Not really a fan of the fenders. There's all sorts of things like that. Then there's mechanical issues. At some point I'll have to figure out how I'm going to work the clutch as well as the rear brake. Lots of stuff to take care of. But pretty much I think what I'm going to do is start pulling at least some of the things off of here just so I can get an idea of what it looks like without the body panels, if I need the rack, if I need the fenders, and so on. Looks like basically all the connections up front are inside of the headlight housing on this thing. So I went online and found an owner's manual, and that had a wiring diagram in there. I was gonna create a wiring diagram as I went along, but this saves me a lot of trouble. But while I'm in here, I am gonna kind of go through here and just verify that it actually looks correct to what I'm seeing, because I don't always trust Chinese wiring and Chinese wiring diagrams. Yeah, I know, it's not normal to cut a gauge off of its bracket, but this stud here that I cut off wanted to spin around and around inside of the gauge, so I didn't want to unbolt, and I don't care at all about these gauges. I also cut the wires to get it off just to make it easier. I did want to save this bracket here, so I didn't really worry about it. Probably should have took it off first, because I did put a little nick right here in this piece, but I can sand that and paint over it. Might paint it black anyway. quick tip. If you have trouble with these master cylinder covers, the screws in there, I've at least had a bunch of them strip out over the years. Get yourself JIS, Japanese Industrial Standard drivers. They look a lot like a Phillips head, but they're cut a little different. And those have made a world of difference for me taking these off. It definitely looks better to me without some of that stuff on there, especially the rear fender. That was the biggest difference in any one part that I took off, at least in my opinion. It made it look a lot better without that on there. And I wasn't a fan of the front fender either. It's probably going to be a challenge to not have some of the ignition, the electrical stuff be obvious. There's not really a whole lot of room. I don't know if maybe when the airbox is out of there, if it can be hidden in there or not. I'll have to figure that out. So a lot of things, I don't think I answered many questions. I'm certain that I want it to be more of a naked look. I like it better this way than with those big side panels on there and with the gas tank up there. Just not sure exactly where I'm going with it. I imagine probably the next thing I'll be doing is spending a bunch of time online looking around at what's available, trying to get some ideas for exactly where I'm headed. I like the idea of a rear rack on the back of it, but it looks a whole lot better to me without that there. If I could just get a tail light mounted on the back of this and the turn signals coming out or something, that would be way cleaner looking. But then again, I'm so used to a scooter. I mean, even my big bike is a scooter. I'm just not used to not having storage. So that's kind of freaking me out a little bit, the idea of not having storage. So that's why I'm thinking maybe, depending what I end up doing with a seat, maybe some kind of little bit cleaner rack than what it had before, maybe a little bit smaller, but something that I could possibly bolt a trunk down to, or maybe a case or something to go on the back to store something. I'm so used to carrying tools around, everything else, I'm just not used to having no storage at all. So yeah, a lot of stuff to figure out. I think I'm just as lost as when I started this. I've spent quite a bit of time looking around in the last day or so, and I still don't know what I'm doing. The one thing I do think is that I'd like to save the seat if possible, largely for budget reasons, because there's so much stuff on my list. It's going to get pretty expensive regardless, so not adding a seat to that would help. And really the only thing that bothers me with this is how it moves around. It doesn't actually look that bad to me. It's pretty plain, but that's fine. It doesn't seem to be uncomfortable, so if I could save that, that would save me a little bit of money. But I'm not sure, because it largely depends on what I'm doing with a gas tank, exactly where a gas tank ends up on here. I'm not sure. And also, so I need to figure out the gas tank to know for the seat, and then I need to know what I'm doing with the seat so that I know what I'm doing for a rear rack, as well as there's a possibility a gas tank could go back there. So I really think I need to figure out the fuel tank before I worry about anything else. And that's probably going to take me a while. So with that said, I think I'm going to end this video, wrap this one up. As always, I want to say thank you for watching. If you enjoy it, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, click the bell to receive notifications. Thanks again.